Hi, I'm Elena Roberts. The book is C.S. Lewis Narrative Poems, edited by Walter Hooper. And yes, it's a mirror image because I'm using my MacBook's photo booth application to make this video. The poem we are discussing is C.S. Lewis's 1926 published poem, Dymer. He began work on this poem at the age of 17, and he was still very young when he published it. Dymer was written and published before Lewis was a professed Christian. Now, he was raised and educated as a Christian. Culturally, he was a Christian all along, but in his personal beliefs, he was more of a sort of, he sort of vacillated between cynicism and an enthusiastic neo-paganism of sorts. And that's reflected in this poem. The poem is very interesting to me, not only because it's really beautiful. It's a lengthy narrative poem, and it really shows what Lewis can do as a poet. And it's fascinating too. But it's also interesting to me as an enthusiast of Lewis the man to see how much continuity there is. He's still Lewis. He still has the same concerns, the same questions. He's coming to some of the conclusions that we will see later on in his prose writings. The conversion to Christianity did not change him, did not make him to be someone other than he was. We are going to Canto 5, and this will be stanza 12. Now, at this point in the poem, Dymer has not only lost everything that was important to him, but he's just found out that a bloody revolution has been started and carried out and committed horrible atrocities in his name. He wasn't even there. And as you can imagine, he's very bitter right now. He feels that basically everything he once took joy in is just a big joke. So Lewis is about to pose us one of the central dilemmas that sort of gets to the heart of who C.S. Lewis himself is as a moral personage. Dymer says bitterly, "Ah, but the earth never did sing for joy. There's a glamour on the leaf and flower." Now, this word glamour doesn't mean beauty. It means a sort of magical spell that makes things look better than they are. There's a glamour on the leaf and flower, and April comes and whistles to a boy over white fields, and beauty has such power upon us. He believes her in that hour. For who could not believe? Can it be false? All that the blackbird says and the wind calls? Now, Lewis doesn't say, could it be false? He says, can it be false? Dymer is, even now as he's proclaiming his gospel of cynicism, he's having doubts. He's doubting his own doubts, so to speak. How can all this beauty be lying to us? And it gets, as I said, to Lewis's central question, which is what is the stuff of reality? Is it goodness and joy and beauty? Or is it all just accidental? Well, I want to draw your attention to this blackbird. The blackbird is saying something to Dymer, which Dymer now feels is false. And that's interesting because a little later on, another bird is going to say something to him in the poem. Now, Dymer goes on after this. He spends a horrible, nightmarish night in the forest. He's lost, and he goes over the edge of a cliff, barely manages to hang on at the very lip of the cliff, and he needs to haul himself over in order to save his own life. This is the guy who kind of wanted to die a few stanzas back. With wild will, he clawed into the hillside and lay still, half hanging on both arms. His idle feet dangled and found no hold. The moor lay wet against him, and he sweated with the heat of terror, all alive. His teeth were set. "By God, I will not die," said he, "not yet." Then slowly, with enormous strain, he heaved himself an inch. Then heaved again, till saved and spent he lay. He felt indeed it was the big round world beneath his breast, the mother planet, proven at his need. So he felt that April was lying to him. Now he feels that Mother Earth has proven herself. The shame of glad surrender stood confessed. He cared not for his boasts. This was best. This giving up of all. He need not strive. He panted, he lay still, he was alive. Now, in a lovely stanza, Lewis details the coming of morning. Dymer slips into a sort of dream state, and this is very interesting and important because as the poem goes on, we're going to hear more about dreams and dream manipulation. And this is where, and that's the point at which we're going to see the link to the connection I'm trying to draw between this poem and Inception. Yet, dreaming of blue skies in dream, he heard the pure voice of a lark. So he had a blackbird before that he didn't believe. Here comes a new messenger, the lark, that seemed to send its song from heights beyond all height. That bird sang out of heaven. The world will never end. Sang from the gates of heaven. Will never end. Sang till it seemed there was no other thing but bright space, and one voice set there to sing. It seemed to be the murmur and the voice of beings beyond number, each and all singing, I am. Now Lewis has I am in all capital letters, and it's impossible that he doesn't know that this is the very name of God in the Hebrew Scriptures. So he seems to be proposing a sort of pantheism or panentheism. It's kind of like people today who think that, who put the universe in their mental God slot, right? The universe is responsible for everything. But Lewis goes a little deeper than that, I think. Each of itself, each being that is, each of itself made choice and was. So he's proposing the self-existence of everything. Whence flows the justice that men call divine. She keeps the great worlds, lest they fall from hour to hour, and makes the hills renew their ancient youth, and sweetens all things through. So the sweetness of the earth actually does come from divinity, and divinity is the self-existence of all things. So Dymer has suffered a sort of conversion here. Yes. Dymer goes on in his journey and he meets with a dream magician, someone whose magic is to manipulate dreams. This is where it gets really interesting vis-a-vis my little thesis here. We're going on to Canto 6, and now the magician in stanza 20 is beginning his argument, trying to convince Dymer that Dymer should join him as a dream magician. He says, "Listen, for I can launch you on the stream, will roll you to the shores of her own land." Now, her in this sentence refers to the spirit bride that Dymer had one night with and then lost. Part of his great bitterness. In fact, the central part of his bitterness. And the magician believes that in dreams your spirit is traveling to various spiritual places, and he's saying, "Oh, I can get you back to her if you let me teach you how to be a dream magician like me." And now I could be sworn you never learned to dream, but every night you take with careless hand what chance may bring. I'll teach you to command the comings and goings of your spirit through all that borderland which dreams inherit. Very Lewisian. Love it. You shall have hauntings suddenly. Great line. That line alone makes Lewis a great poet. You shall have hauntings suddenly, and often when you forget, when you least think of her, for so you shall forget, a light will soften over the evening woods, and in the stir of morning dreams, oh, I will teach you, sir, there'll come a sound of wings. Or you shall be waked in the midnight murmuring, it was she. But Dymer says no. He wants to stay on the hard, stony path that his conversion put him on towards reality and sanity. And the magician doesn't care for this. The magician says that he basically takes the viewpoint that the movie Inception took. He says that it is only dreams unlock that door of undoing past wrongs, basically. In dreams, the thrice-proved coward can feel brave. In dreams, the fool is free from scorning voices. Gray-headed whores are virgins there again. That's hard to do. Out of the past, dreams bring long-buried choices. All in a moment, snaps the tenfold chain that life took years in forging. So he thinks dreams can do a lot. The argument goes on. We are skipping to stanza 34, and this is where the magician is closing his argument. And here is the passage that made me think that there was some kind of connection between this poem and the movie Inception. Listen to this. I'm sorry, we're going back to stanza 33. That's where it really starts. I am very old, he said, but if the time we suffer in our dreams were counted age, I have outlived the ocean, and my prime is with me to this day. Years cannot gauge the dream life. In the turning of a page, dozing above my book, I have lived through more ages than the lost Lemurian knew. I am not mortal. Were I doomed to die this hour, in this half hour I interpose 1,000 years of dream, and those gone by, as many more. And in the last of those, now the word those there, I can only think, as I look through all the possible antecedents in the stanza, I can only think that he means one of those dreams. 1,000 more, as many more, and in the last of those, 10,000. And 10,000, ever journeying towards a close that I shall never reach. For time shall flow, wheel within wheel, interminably slow. And you will drink my cup. He means his sorcerer's cup. He wants to induct Dymer into this fellowship of dream magicians, remember. And you will drink my cup, and go your way into the valley of dreams. You have heard the call. Come hither and escape. Why should you stay? Earth is a sinking ship, a house whose wall is tottering even while you sweep. The roof will fall before the work is done. You cannot mend it. Patch as you will, the rot must end it. That is the viewpoint of the magician, and it's very much the viewpoint of Inception, I think, at least at the end. But Dymer is really torn. Then Dymer lifted up his heavy head like Atlas, on broad shoulders bearing up the insufferable globe. Immortal words, by the way. I had not said, he mumbled. Never said I'd taste the cup. What, is it this you give me? Must I sup? Oh, lies, all lies. Why did you kill the lark? The magician had killed the lark that Dymer had heard as the voice of heaven. Great dilemma here. Now, I have not finished this poem yet. I may make another video about what else I find, or I may not. But I thought that I should do this one before I forgot and moved on. So, tell me what you think. Am I imagining things, or is there a connection there? Alright, talk to you later.